it. Here we are. And we are going to have a heck of an adventure today. I am really thrilled to have a very special guest today, who is also, I must confess, a very dear friend. Ms. Cindy Lane is here. So if you could say hello. And Cindy is going to take us on a really exciting journey. I know there are some of you out there who are entrepreneurs. Some of you may work for somebody and you've always dreamed of having your own business or, being your own boss. And Cindy is one of the wildest stories on becoming a very successful entrepreneur. So I thought she would be a great guest for us today. And we will go through the ups and downs of her roller coaster to being successful. So we'll start off today. Cindy, if you could just take a minute and introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about you personally before we begin with your adventures. That would be great.
Okay. Hi. I've been a single mom for quite a few years. Have two wonderful kids, love them to death. And now I have a wonderful husband and we like to vacation as we're getting older, and we're counting down the days till we can retire and hopefully full-time vacation, or at least quite a bit more than we do now.
Excellent. I know you were just on another great vacation. You're always on beautiful vacation.
Absolutely.
So you were a single mom for quite a long time,
Mm-hmm.
and you started off in a traditional industry. So tell us a little bit about your professional career before you broke into the world of being an entrepreneur.
Okay, I started working in banking, and I worked in banking for about 16 years, and I loved it. I love my customers. I really like to help people, learned a lot, met a lot of good people, good contacts for future adventures. It was a really, really nice thing. I worked in a branch where it was a lot more blue collar people, and I loved them. They were down to earth, salt of the earth. So I really, really enjoyed that. And it was fun.
And then at some point you had the itch, so to speak. You wanted to do something entrepreneurial. Before we get into how you started and what you did, where did that come from? What motivated you? You had a great career. As you said, you liked your clients.
Mm-hmm.
What motivated you to start branching out a little bit?
Well, my mom was also a single mom. And actually, she just turned 80, but she worked full time until she was 75. And I knew that I didn't want to do that. I knew that I needed something on the side because my regular income was just not going to do it. And I didn't know if I would ever meet my wonderful husband. So I needed to plan in case I did not. So our first venture, we decided we were going to make tons of money, and we bought a moon bounce. We thought it was amazing. And it was so cool. It was so much fun to get in and jump up and down. The problem was it weighed 200 pounds. So my best friend was my business partner in this adventure. And the two of us trying to roll this thing up after a part, it was hard. And we didn't really make the money that we thought we were going to make. We never actually earned enough to pay for it. It wasn't, it was a good idea, but it just wasn't it. So like on the weekends, we'd go drop it off. So I don't recommend that.
No moon bounces.
Definitely don't recommend that.
That would be fun to jump in a moon bounce.
It was a lot of fun. I know. And my daughter was napping when we sold it. And so we sold her castle when she was taking her nap, and she still talks about it, but it needed to go.
Now, on the plus side, that was a venture that allowed you to keep your career, though. So you started off, keeping the security of your job and then kind of dipping into the world of being a business owner.
Exactly. So then we decided, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Okay. So we decided to do something else. So we thought about a franchise, and we went and talked to people from Rita's were nearby, and they were doing this big seminar. We went there and we were very gung-ho to do Rita's. And then while we were still kind of working our way through that to try and move up in their process, I had a customer come into the bank, and he wanted to get a loan for edible arrangements. And, I'm sitting there chit-chatting with him, trying to figure out what in the world he's talking about. Never seen it, never heard of it. And he's like, here, go to this website. And I was like, oh my God, can I get those right here, right now? And he goes, no, that's why you need to give me a loan. So we did help him get a loan. We bought, so he ended up opening his store in downtown Baltimore. And I told my best friend and my mom. So the two of them came in with me as a partner. And I said, we got to go. We got to go up to Connecticut. We got to do a discovery day. This is the coolest thing I've ever seen. So
So now hold on, because you have like, okay, so we did the moon bounce.
right.
And you looked at Rita's, but it didn't go. And then
Right.
you became the edible arrangements guy. And I really want to talk about that. But in between, didn't you do a rental property or something as
We
well?
did, actually.
So
We
let's
did.
do that too, because I know there's some people right now, the market is hot. And a lot of people are talking about, should I invest in real estate? So I totally want to get to the edible arrangements, but can you take a minute and share that experience, the pros, the cons, and a little
Okay.
bit about that? Because that may help some people who are
Okay,
thinking about
sure.
that too, if you don't mind. Yeah.
No. So we bought, that was one of the things we did. We decided to buy a rental property. So I had sold my house and we had a little extra cash. So we decided we'd pitch in and we bought this rental property. We thought we were going to buy tons of them. And actually we were thinking that we would flip houses in the winter time. So nobody had to drive to work in the snow and all that, because we don't like that. And that we'd be flipping. We had big ideas, and it was harder than that. There's no way you could keep getting loans on all these properties. So we bought the one, rented it out, and we bought it at the right time, which I would say, in my personal opinion, now is not that.
And this is why I wanted to have this conversation.
Yeah,
I
because
think it's
the
really
prices are
important
too
for people to
high.
understand.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so we bought that house probably 2004, 2005, before the market really took off. We paid $100,000 for it, and it was worth $160,000 in like 18 months.
Mm.
So we refied and we took out our deposit and our franchise fee, and that's how we opened our store. So that house had lots of crazy things happen. We had it for a very long time. And every now and again, I'd have to remind myself, if I didn't have this, I wouldn't have that. So it was always, that's what grounded me when I had tenants that I had to evict, or
Sure.
the police showed up at my door because there was 6 cats abandoned and a dog, and we had to go down there and take care of that. So every time something like that happened, it's like, but if I didn't have this, I couldn't have done these other things. So it was a stepping stone. It was a really good one for us.
So that there's a bunch of things that you said in there, like, because you're a great entrepreneur now, so you just kind of whip that stuff.
Sorry. I know I talk fast.
That's why I wanted you in here,
Okay.
because you're really smart and you're really successful. So you talked about the timing of the market. So you, like, right now the market is like peaking, booming. So
Right.
today that would have been like you buying the house at 160 instead of buying it early at 100 and then refinancing it at 160. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Well, yeah, and we wouldn't have been able to refi it. And I know from other customers when I was working at the bank, a lot of them had bought houses when the market was high, like it is right now. But then they ended up that they owed more on it than it was worth. So now is definitely not the time that I would do that.
Great.
Unless you could get something, some kind of steal somewhere along the way. But most of the houses are marked really high. I would not.
It's crazy. We've had some people in here in the real estate industry who come in and talked, and the joke is like, when you see the list price, that's now like a starting conversation. It's
Exactly.
amazing what is going on. So from your experience in real estate investing, that was really awesome for you, but don't buy it when the market is at its highest peak.
No,
So,
and we got lucky too. So that wasn't something that we actually knew. We just happened to be in the right place at the right time.
that's God looking out for you.
Yeah, we were blessed. Absolutely.
Absolutely. So then you got to refinance, and then you decided to go ahead and take that money and use it to dive into the world of edible arrangements. Now, I will tell you, Cindy, that of course, I think the world of you, and it's been a pleasure being friends with you for so long, but I really like edible arrangements even before I knew you. So good. If anybody out there has not had edible arrangements, you have not lived yet. It's amazing. So for people who don't know what that is, because there will be people who don't know, can you take a second and explain what it is that edible arrangements sells and markets? Because it's really pretty delicious.
Absolutely. It's changed over the years, but when we first got into it, we would sell boxes of fruit that was dipped in chocolate. You can get bananas, apples, strawberries, pineapple, and it's all wonderful. Pick your favorite. But then we also take arrangements. We take fruit, we cut it, and we make it look like a beautiful flower arrangement. Some of it can be dipped, and it's still to this day, after all these years, when I look at it, it's like, wow, that's really cool. So now we've also added cheesecakes. cupcakes. So there are some other goodies. If you're not really liking the fruit, there's some sweets too. So
It's
it's a
really
fun
neat though, because
business.
it is beautiful and it's
Mhm.
something like you can send it to a family and everyone can have it. You could go healthy and not put anything on it. You
Right.
can throw some chocolate on there and spice it up a notch, you know?
Well, chocolate is an antioxidant, so don't forget that part. It does have health value.
I tell myself that every time I eat
too.
chocolate. That's what I do. So you decided to get an edible arrangements franchise, which is very exciting.
Mhm.
And at that point, you had a partner. So you were able to kind of divvy up. So one of you stayed full time. Can you explain a little bit about the arrangement? Because again, there are people who are trying to figure out how to make something work and they can learn from you.
Well, yeah, so we knew that getting into a brand new business, there was no way it was going to support both of us.
Yeah.
So she hated her job and I loved mine. So it was very easy to say, okay, you go run it and I'll stay here and do what I'm doing. So that's what we did. And she went to training, took one of our managers, and she ran the store. I would take vacation for our biggest holidays, which are Mother's Day and Valentine's Day. So I would take a few days off and everybody say, have a great vacation. And I was like, I'm not going to get any rest because we'd be in the store, making the arrangements day after day, but that's how it worked for us. So we made it work and it was a lot of fun. We had a good time.
And so you start off with one and now you have five, correct?
Yes, yes. We opened probably the second one, maybe 5 years in. And then a couple years later, we had an opportunity to buy one that was not being run maybe as well as it should. So we bought that one in July of 2015.
And
So it was good.
no, so if you wouldn't mind, because franchises are really fascinating. I mean, there's pros to having a franchise and there's cons to having a franchise, as opposed to somebody who wants to, create a business from scratch. What is your perspective on that? The pros and cons of being a franchise owner in general.
Well, I do feel like owning a franchise does allow you to have some independence and some creativity, but it's not Leanne's name on the front. So you can't do every little thing the way that you want. So they're going to make you do certain things because they've worked in other places. They have a formula for success. But the perk is that, I get orders from all across the country from people who don't know who I am or don't, but they recognize the brand. Whereas otherwise, I'd probably only sell local and not be able to do anywhere near the business that we've been able to do.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I remember I wanted to send an edible arrangement down to North Carolina, and it was
Mhm.
so cool because I wanted to give the business to you, so I could call your store, and then you could send it to someone who owned a franchise down there, but you
Right.
both would make money off of that, which is amazing to be able to do something like that
Yeah,
nationally.
it helps. It helps. So we make a little piece, for handling the order. So it's incentive for us to take it. Plus, then if you're used to dealing with us, you can still call us just like you always would. So you don't have. It's not the same as just going online and ordering it if you want to talk to somebody personally. So that helps. That definitely helps.
So the pluses are that it comes with a system in place. And so you've also be able to coordinate and do things on a national level. What about some of the difficulties of just owning a franchise, employees or other challenges that come along with something like that?
Well, employees has been a real struggle for probably every business owner this last year, but it's still hard to to hire people who you need to trust,
Hmm.
and you need them to be there when you're not there. So sometimes that is a hard piece, but that's also another good piece. We often, when we first got into business, our thing was we wanted to be able to help other women along the way and kind of empower them. So we feel like we've been able to do that. And we haven't always hit the mark maybe with some of the things we've tried to do, but we have always tried to help other people, and we have people we can count on. So we are blessed. I mean, on a holiday, if you saw the craziness that goes on, how many people you'd be like, oh my gosh. But it works. It works. You have to have the right people in place, but it does work, you know.
And
The
speaking of,
downside, I'm sorry,
no, go ahead, please, please.
I say the downside to the franchise is that you cannot do everything the way that you would like to.
Yeah.
So sometimes I have to buy these containers, which I feel like cost more when I could go here and buy those containers, which I even like better. And I know, but sometimes you just can't. that's part of being, you have to drink the Kool-Aid if you're in the franchise. There's certain things you might be able to sneak away and, buy, but for the most part, you do need to kind of do what they request. That's, and they got their hand in your pocket a little bit too, but that's part of it,
That's part of it. Look,
know?
they give you the system, you pay for the system.
Oh, yes.
And you definitely pay for the system. And then, but you do have the, they can set a standard for what they want to do.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that's
So
it.
they own the container company. So they definitely have their way. But, if it was my franchise and I started it, I'd be trying to get money back. So, it's easy to go, that really bugs me, but it's smart. It's good business. So I get it.
It's brilliant business. Yeah.
Yeah, it really is.
Now, you had mentioned having the right people. One of the other things that's interesting is that you were lucky enough to go into business with your best friend.
Right.
And sometimes people look at going into business with a partner, and you had a great experience. Is there any advice though? Because I know you've seen the good and the bad and the ugly by dealing with other franchise owners. If someone's
Absolutely.
thinking, okay, I don't want to do this all by myself, what advice would you give them if they're looking at partnering with someone?
Yeah, definitely have to be in a partnership with somebody that you can trust, that has your back. I mean, because for me, I wasn't hardly there. I needed to know that she was taking care of everything and making sure she rang up all the sales and wasn't trying to do anything. And I knew that she was not. I knew totally she would not do that. So, I mean, our friendship, it all worked very well. Unfortunately, the other thing I had to learn the hard way is if you have a partner, you need to have an agreement, like a plan in place if something happens to someone, because my partner did pass away. And we ended up in a whole legal battle because we didn't have everything, like all the T's crossed and the I's dotted. And we should have. We had some of it, but we didn't have it finished because it was like, we'll do it later, because we started it and it was like, there's a couple things we need to check. We'll do it later. And we should have done it then. So that's really a critical piece.
Well, like, the good side is that she was a great, trustworthy friend and business partner. But I think because of that, it was probably easier to put off doing all the legal stuff because you trusted each other.
But what happens though is if you don't have it in place, then you end up either in business or doing battle with their relatives. So that's key. You need to have something that says, okay, if this happens, then this is how we resolve this issue, or like it needs to be clear. It's a little bit of insurance doesn't hurt either. Okay, this pays the family off, and then you're not in business with the family. But a good lawyer is definitely worth their weight in gold to make sure you have all that stuff.
As a lawyer, I like that comment. That's a good thing to say.
Yeah. Oh yes, and let me also say this: if you ever go to get a business and you have a lease, you need a lawyer, because anytime you go to talk to someone about renting a place for your business, when they hand you the lease, it is written, I would say 95% in their favor. If anything goes wrong, it's not their fault. They have no accountability. Like, you need a lawyer to come back and say, well, you need to exercise caution if you do this, because if it harms my business, then you need to pay this. It's well worth it. I know somebody who used one of those monthly, how you can get one of those prepaid legal.
Oh, yeah.
That is not the legal you want for business. Nothing personal, but that's like if you get in a low car wreck, you need somebody who knows more about contracts and things like that to really protect you before you do that.
Yeah, I think that's for like traffic stuff and little things.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing.
You're taking on like a huge investment. But what you said is so true, because the lawyer drafts things in favor of the person who pays them. Yeah. So if somebody says, okay, you're a landlord, and the landlord hires a lawyer to draft that lease, they're going to do it. So it completely benefits and protects the landlord. And the tenant's the one who's on the hot seat. So if the tenant, whoever hires the person, that's the lawyer's job, is to slant everything as much as they can in favor of their client. So that's amazing advice.
Yeah, I'm glad we learned that, because I know one of the other owners who did not. And some of the stuff that she told me, and I asked her about that, and she told me who she used, and I was just like, oh, Wish we'd talk sooner, but it happens. So
I read a book years ago and it said there are two things you should never skimp on: legal advice and financial advice, because you end up paying again anyway. So I was
I
like,
think
I
that's
always
fair.
remembered that. I'm like, okay, I'll pay what I need to for an accountant. I'll pay what I need to for an
Absolutely.
attorney. Because if you don't, you do anyway. That's kind
Yeah.
of how it all falls out.
Yeah, I think that's
So
very fair.
what year did you open your first franchise?
We signed the papers in 2006, and we actually opened in 2007 in June.
Okay. And now you've had all these years of having that under your belt, and what came along but the pandemic, which nobody could see coming. And you were, I mean, there's nothing fortunate about the pandemic, but you were one of the fortunate entrepreneurs in the pandemic because you were able to still function. So can you talk a little bit about your experience doing all of that?
So we were considered essential, and it has been one crazy ride for the last year. So
Hmm.
we cut our hours. We actually closed one extra day. Like, we used to be open 7 days. We've been closed on Sunday because all the other owners in the area agreed that we needed at least one day where we didn't have to work because we've been short staffed. Um, so our store has done very well, but like, our lobbies actually are still closed because I don't have enough help to make the orders that were coming in off the web, plus walk up front and sell things. Like, we just don't have time.
Hmm.
It's, if we could get a few more people, but I mean, we've been blessed. We've paid off a lot of debt. We've managed to help some other people do some things. So, we've tried to give back where we could, because we knew we were very blessed in that whole situation, and it could have very easily been the other way around.
Yeah, thank goodness you were doing something with food. That's what allowed you to
Yeah.
stay open, right?
Yeah, that's exactly.
That's a blessing that you didn't see coming. So
No, it wasn't. The
yeah,
first couple weeks, we were definitely thinking we were going to lose every single thing we had. So
wow.
we were
It's so
lucky.
scary. So
Yeah.
many people lost it. It's funny. There's a shopping area not far from where I go, and I was driving by the other day, and 50% of it was gone. There was
Yeah.
a place that had been open for like 30 years and gone. And it's so
It's
sad.
sad. It's very sad. And,
It is.
I mean, I've certainly tried to buy local and do some things, because I agree. It's very sad to see all these people, that their whole livelihood was taken from them and they had no control. There was nothing they could do.
You can't predict it. There's no way anyone
No.
could see it coming. So you were able to maintain your online activity the entire time and just shut down the storefront. And that's how you were able to
Right.
function. Is that what you
Yeah.
did with all five of them?
Yeah, that's what we had to do, because there was just no way. And plus, we also wanted to keep our staff safe because our crew is very small.
Yeah.
So we've had to shut down a couple of times because somebody tested positive, and we had to
Mm.
shut down so everybody else could test before we could come back. So, I mean, we still are asking our employees to wear masks when they're in the back of the store, like working with others, because we need them to be safe. I've told our drivers, if you go to somebody's door, you don't know what their situation is, wear your mask so I don't get a complaint about it later. Please just wear your mask. It's fine, because they don't want to. Well, the governor, I don't care. Just please wear it. I
Yeah.
mean, that's what we have to do.
Well, as a business owner, your role is different than the governor's role. So,
Yes.
as a business owner, you don't want complaints from customers. That's really what it all comes down to.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we try, we want everything to look nice, and we don't want it to be any kind of unhappiness. We're supposed to be, that was our thing back in the day, that when we first started, we were delivering happiness, and
Mm,
that's what we want. We want
yeah.
people to be happy and not call up and complain as soon as you walk away. That's just not good business. So anyway,
Well, it's really wild. Now you are full time, and now
right.
you're doing it full time. And are you able to have some element of work-life balance now that you're, because now it's just you, since unfortunately you lost your partner. How do you handle all that?
Well, my husband actually is a partner in a couple of the stores that we have bought too. So between him and I, we try to divide and conquer. There are times when we were on a bike ride this weekend, and then I realized, and I had no phone service for a while. And then when I get to where I have phone service, I find out that one of my coolers is at 75 degrees. So I have to
Mm,
stop on the bike ride and call the technician and send somebody out there. So those kind of things do interrupt our life. And I mean, it's just the way it is. It's
sure.
it's part of doing those kind of things. Sometimes we go on vacation and we get calls. I try to put somebody else kind of in the role to head off most things so we can be uninterrupted as much as possible. But there's certain things that just, crazy things that happen and they all happen at once. That's
Of
just the
course.
way.
Okay. And the
It
fridge
is.
would be a monumental issue for you.
I know, and
Dealing
especially
with fresh fruit.
because we were closed the next day. So
Oh.
if she hadn't caught it, Monday morning would have been a disaster. So we were lucky she did see that. So
Well, that's amazing. Well,
anyway.
I really appreciate you sharing your adventures from the moon bounce, which I still think is really, really wild. The moon bounce and the real estate and the part-time, and now you've got 5 franchises and you're full-time. And I'm sure your mom would be like out of her mind, proud of you and everything you've accomplished. So I love that you shared it. And hopefully a lot of other people who are looking at businesses can learn, to some things to think about, whether it's legal advice or timing and all the things that you shared today. So thank you so much for being on here.
Right.
And if you want to, I would encourage you to do this. You have 5 stores in Maryland. Now we have people from all over the place, but if you happen to be in Maryland, her 5 stores are.
We have Perry Hall, downtown Baltimore, Abingdon, Lutherville, and Pikesville. And we have 2 stores that are kosher, which is Pikesville and downtown Baltimore.
Fabulous. And look, I like to promote my guests. I'm sorry, I can't help myself. First of all, if you haven't had edible arrangements, you haven't lived. I'm just going to tell you that because it's that good. But if you do want to order something, even if you are not in state, you could always call one of Cindy's stores, whether you're having it delivered here or there, because I always love to support. So if you're an edible arrangements fan and you're not friends with the person who owns the edible arrangements, now you are friends with someone who owns an edible arrangement. But it's divine. And I have sent them over the years to so many people. And actually, I have someone who's really been a huge mentor in my life. And I found out at one point that he loved those chocolate covered pineapples of all things. I'd never heard of chocolate strawberries. I know all about.
Right.
And every year I would send him chocolate pineapples and I would get this message. He was so excited because, one of the things that's great about what you do before we wrap up is sometimes someone in life and you don't know what you can get them, right? You're like, I don't know what to get them. They have everything, or I don't know what their taste is, but everyone likes fruit and everyone likes chocolate. So it's such a safe thing. And you could send it to a man. The guy I sent it to loved it. And he had everything he could want in life, but not fresh chocolate covered pineapple. So there you go.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Well, thank you for being in here. And I hope everyone enjoyed it as much as I did today. Cindy, you're just amazing. And you're an inspiration for single moms out there as well as an inspiration for budding entrepreneurs. So thanks for your time. And we will see you all next Tuesday. Thank you so much for being here. And if you have any comments or questions, please post them in there and we'll sweet talk, pardon the pun, Cindy, into coming back and answering any questions you have. That was so bad. That was like a dad joke. That was so bad.
Thank you.
All right. Take care, everybody.
Thanks
See
for
you next
having me.
week. Thanks, Cindy.
All right. Bye.